Good afternoon, everyone. Let me first welcome you all to the first International Summit Food Restart from Creativity, organized by Bergamo as a UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy. I thank you for joining us, although in virtual mode, in the Council Hall of the Municipality of Bergamo, the institutional meeting place of the City Council. The summit is also the opening event of the 5th edition of Forme, a project for an enhancement of dairy excellence, this year entitled Forme Creative, taking its cue from the designation of Bergamo as a UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy, together with the aerobic cheese valleys. I'm honored to welcome the authorities from whom I thank for having accepted my invitation. It is with great pleasure that I welcome Franco Bernabé, President of the National Commission for UNESCO, Ambassador Massimo Riccardo, Permanent Delegation of Italy to UNESCO, Denis Bax, Secretariat UNESCO Paris, and Fabio Rolfi, Councillor for Agriculture, Food and Green Systems, Region Lombardy. I also thank the UNESCO Creative Cities of Gastronomy that today will be in the spotlight together with Bergamo of this meeting, during which we will talk about food as an identity cultural asset, food sustainability, the need to network creative cities between them, and the importance of international promotion of our food and gastronomic heritage. Alba, Parma, Denia, Burgos, Bergen, Östersund, Belo Horizonte and Tucson have honored us with welcoming our invitation and being here with us this afternoon. During this difficult time, due to the health emergency, this meeting, although in the virtual mode, represents a starting point for a future of projects, collaboration and synergies among the UNESCO Creative Cities. Allow me, before giving the floor to the authorities for the opening remarks, to thank the institution of the various territories, associations and private companies of the provinces of Bergamo, Sondrio and Lecco, who have believed in this project from the beginning by supporting our candidacy. It is also thanks to the support of the Cheese Valleys that Bergamo boasts the title of UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy. This designation, together with that of World Heritage Site achieved in 2017 thanks to the serial and transnational site Venetian works of defense between the 16th and 17th centuries, Stato de Terra, Western Stato de Mar, further enhancing the prestige of the city. The transnational UNESCO property includes, in addition to Bergamo, the Italian cities of Peschiera and Palmanova, Šibenik and Zadar in Croatia, and Kotor in Montenegro. Now I will invite Fabio Rolfi, Councillor for Agriculture, Food and Green Systems of Region Lombardy, to take the floor for his opening remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon to you all. I would like to thank the organizers and Mayor Mr. Gori for his invitation, and also I would like to thank all those who have and are still working within the organization of this special edition of Forme. I know that the timing is tight, so I'll get straight to the point. Will the agri-food industry be the driver for the economic recovery of Bergamo and Lombardy in the post-COVID-19 period? The answer is definitely yes, if the institutions will manage to team up, to work together so that all the industry players team up and proceed together. We are today in one of the places mostly hit by the first wave of the pandemic, but this is also a land of long-established culinary traditions. We have products that are known worldwide, mainly in the dairy field, and it is our common duty to keep raising awareness of their excellence. I'm still convinced, we are still convinced that this epidemic will inevitably change our perceptions, tourist flows, consumer demands. And Our duty is to try and anticipate trends to be successful. And Bergamo nomination as UNESCO Creative City for Gastronomy, and I also had Bergamo as capital of culture together with Brescia in 2023, poses new challenges and new opportunities. We must be clear on one concept. Agriculture is both a source of tourism and key to promote it. It is a key essential to promote tourism. And I seize this opportunity to put forth the idea of establishing an agricultural cluster in Bergamo, mainly linked to cheese and the art of cheese making, that can become the driver for agriculture of Bergamo. Such a cluster could underpin an ancient vocation of this area, history that is part and parcel of the people of Bergamo, and that today is showcased by important and well-established food processing companies that have become international and that are a source of wealth for the entire territory and ambassadors of the Made in Italy across the world. Increasingly, tourists will be looking for stories and sensory experiences, will be willing to discover territories and to match their cultural interest with tasting experiences. And Bergamo can offer all this. The ability to communicate quality history and the food safety that our products can guarantee will be key to intercepting tourist flows and to let the world know what we can do. If it is true that the Made in Italy brand works abroad, it is equally true that every territory must get its act together to offer something special, something creative on top of traditional cuisine, thus contributing to creating economic value and the Italian brand equity. But we must also strengthen the key role that cities already have in food policies that are becoming an important tool in our hands: urban agriculture, attention to food, fight against the food waste, nutritional value, short supply chain, direct communication, direct relationship between the producers and consumers of food. For this purpose, municipalities will play a major role in all this by stating a renewed concept of agricultural civic consciousness that the region Lombardy wants to support and foster. Another important theme will be the supply chain stability. Citizens and consumers, mature consumers in the old continent are and will be increasingly sensitive to animal welfare and to environment-friendly production practices. Sustainability will make food distinctive. If we wanted to reconcile this concept with the economic sustainability of farms, we must focus more and more on innovation and less on constraints and regulatory requirements that are seen by farmers more as a hindrance than an opportunity. The region Lombardy is investing in new efficient technologies and in generation turnover in order to generate new energy, new ideas, and keep up with changes and even being ahead of them. In the past 20 years, Lombardy agriculture has made great strides in this direction, and the territory of Bergamo is a case in point. Suffice to think of the produce supply chain. We are currently planning the future of the European agriculture within the framework of the European Green Deal, and we intend to take full advantage of this challenge, relying on all resources that will be made available to realize a vision of the future that is compatible with the new scenarios that are being built. The opportunities are out there, the institutions are united, must be united, and farmers have never been afraid to meet new challenges. The agri-food system in Lombardy, and Bergamo is one of its undisputed protagonists, for its traditions and quality, will be able to drive the Italian economic revival based on all the above. Thank you very much for listening, and I wish you all fruitful proceedings.
And now takes the floor Franco Bernabé, President of National Commission for UNESCO.
Thank you very much. Thank you. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to congratulate the mayor of Bergamo and old friend Giorgio Gori for this brilliant initiative. With 25 recognition, Lombardy is the leading region in Italy for the participation in UNESCO's program And within Lombardy, it is Bergamo that plays a leading role. Bergamo belongs to the network of creative cities, has a World Heritage property, and hosts a UNESCO chair. The decision to restart after the pandemics that has so severely affected the citizens, not only of Bergamo, but of the entire national and international community, with an international summit on creativity, is yet another example of the importance that city plays in the progress of UNESCO and the recognition that UNESCO has for Bergamo. The Creative Cities Network, with its 246 members, represents a very dynamic platform for dialogue among different stakeholders on urban contemporary development challenges. The pandemic has added a new dimension of complexity, and this international summit will definitely help in shedding some needed light on the challenges that the cities are facing in this very complex environment. As you all know, the cities of the network identify culture and creativity as a strategic factor for sustainable development. Last year, the Italian President of the Republic, Sergio Mattarella, at the Fabriano International Meeting of the Creative Cities, I think that many of you have attended to that event, has underlined the importance of the role of creative cities. And within this framework, the more specific interlinkage between culture, creativity, and food has been strongly underlined by the Parma Declaration of 2019, when in Parma took place the UNESCO World Forum on Culture and Food. You know that the world's population is likely to reach 9 billion by 2050, and 70% of all the world population will be living in cities. In order to feed this population, the agricultural production has to increase by almost 70%. And against this backdrop, there is an urgent need to provide effective and sustainable responses and action-oriented solutions to the global challenges to ensure food security, food safety, and widespread well-being. The cities are the breeding grounds of expertise to develop technologies and scientific research for sustainable food production and distribution, and for the implementation of new models of education to foster proper patterns of food consumption and avoid the waste. Given the complexity of the situation we are facing, we cannot assume that there is a common set of answers. This is exactly the case where one size does not fit all. As stated by the Parma Declaration, cities have different knowledge systems and skills. Food tradition and production and consumption reflect communities' cultural diversities. But cities mixing tradition and innovation are learning fast. We see innovative examples of food production and consumption. I've seen, just to quote a few perhaps minor but not less innovative examples, we have the community basket kitchen gardens and orchards for fruit production within the city's boundary. And there are several other models for sustainable development. Food is also a way for cities to deal with intercultural dialogue, to deal with social inclusion, and the safeguarding of cultural diversity. Dealing with food in a sustainable way contributes to address important socioeconomic challenges, such as poverty, inequality, public health, and the preservation of cultural heritage, as stated in the 11th Global Globe for inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable cities and human settlements of the United Nations. So one final conclusive comment. Food is included not only in the network of the created cities, but also in other major UNESCO's designations. Global geoparks, men in the biosphere reserves, all have developed programs to support local food producers and food services. The intangible cultural heritage list includes 17 elements related to food, among which I want to quote the Mediterranean diet that was listed for the first time exactly 10 years ago. The World Heritage has several properties related to agricultural production, while 7 UNESCO chairs in Italy deal with food and sustainable development. This is a clear sign of the relevance of food as a social and cultural practice for all human beings, regardless of ethnic and religious differences. It is a good and inspiring opportunity to look for synergies and collaboration among different UNESCO's initiatives. I wish you all a very fruitful meeting. I thank you for the attention, and I wish Giorgio Gori, that I know has a very difficult job, and in this period of pandemics, it's even more difficult to continue brilliantly leading this marvelous city of Bergamo. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear Franco. And now takes the floor Ambassador Massimo Riccardo, Permanent Delegate of Italy to UNESCO.
Thank you very much. Caro Sindaco, buongiorno. Dear friends, let me at the outset warmly thank the Mayor of Bergamo for today's event, which I think is extremely timely and appropriate. Timely because what is happening in our country shows how important it is to have the courage, especially in this phase of earth emergency, to continue to look to the future through cultural as an instrument of resilience, but also and above all as a recovery factor. Appropriate because the role of the UNESCO creative cities can be crucial for the success of this path. It is therefore significant how this message originates from a city that has become one of the symbols of the fight against pandemic. So thank you very much, Mr. Gori, to the city of Bergamo for convening us here today. And mentioning Bergamo, I remember last April, if I'm not wrong, was the 14th April, when I browsed the UNESCO homepage and I saw a beautiful photo of the city. Looking better at the screen, there was a caption, I quote, "Bergamo opens a museum virtually in the response to confinement." And UNESCO announced the initiative as a good practice implemented by creative cities to respond to the pandemic. Well, that news in those critical days had the taste of hope, I can assure. Please note, this does not mean forgetting the reality. Somebody said the future is earned with the present. Remembering is certainly our responsibility and our ethical duty. We owe it to the many dreams that have been shattered by the pandemic. Looking ahead, however, is also our responsibility to help to imagine the future together. These are the messages that Italy has brought to UNESCO, sharing with the measure that was adopted with other member states of the UNESCO, but also enhancing the role played in this particular context by the network of our creative cities. The cultural and creative industry sector is one of the most weakened, I would say fragilized by the pandemic. The closure of museums, theaters, cultural and artistic institutions affected the development and the local economy in cities and urban areas. This is why the government has implemented specific measures to support the cultural sector. Yet, these same cities have been able to develop a creative and vital potential capable of fostering resilience, the creation of skills, and the change of social behavior. Many of these examples come to us from the UNESCO creative cities, which have mobilized their cultural and creative capital to counter the effect of this emergency. And this is in the most diverse field: educational, scientific, technological, artistic, and gastronomic. Coming back to today's theme, Italy at UNESCO was among the first to underline the importance of the nexus between cultural and food in order to seize all the opportunities that this relationship can open up in terms of dialogue, cultural exchange, education, innovation, creativity, respect for the environment, as was mentioned by President Bernabé a few minutes ago. Consistent with this approach, together with UNESCO, we organized with our friends from Parma, saluto Cristiano Casa, the UNESCO World Forum on Food and Culture in September 2019. and President Bernabe remembered the declaration that was adopted on that occasion. The UNESCO Creative Cities Network represents a virtuous interconnection between cultural creativity, economic growth, promotion of territories. It has to act to take advantage of it. And as Bergamo rightly reminds us today, gastronomy represents a true driver of cultural exchange as well as a key element for promoting restart from creativity. Thank you so much. Thank you much. Grazie, Sindaco.
Thank you, Ambassador. Grazie, caro ambasciatore. Now the floor is to Denise Bax, Secretariat UNESCO Paris.
Thank you, dear Mayor. Our dear friends from Creative Cities, I take this opportunity to thank you for inviting me to participate in this international summit. And above all, I would like to congratulate and to thank the city of Bergamo and the mayor for organizing this event. Culture can provide multiple responses to the challenges that our societies will face during the recovery from the pandemic. Culture is knowledge. Culture contributes to the sustainable management of natural resources, the preservation of biodiversity, our cultural heritage, as well as our health and well-being. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, with its 17 objectives, represent an international framework for action conducive to the inclusion of culture in local and national policies, so as to fulfill the human, social, economical, and environmental development. Gastronomy represents a powerful example of this universal and cross-cutting nature of culture. Culture and gastronomy are intrinsically linked together, transforming each other over time. They define the way people relate to nature and their environments, as well as reflect their histories, identities, values, and most plainly, their way of living. Putting gastronomy at the service of regional and local development is the commitment of the UNESCO Creative Cities Network and its 36 creative cities of gastronomy from 22 countries. Through their action in the field and the exchanges they wave, creative cities are laboratory for sustainable gastronomy. They participate in the emergence of new practices in the gastronomy sector, boost local development, both in economic and social terms, and contribute more broadly to advocacy on the role of creativity in the sustainable development of cities and territories. As it was recalled by Ambassador Riccardo and Franco Bernabe, as you may recall, last year in Parma, UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy, we organized the third edition of the UNESCO World Forum on Culture and Food. And during the meeting, we remember that this forum highlighted the intrinsic relationship between food, culture, and society, as well as the evolving landscape of food systems, their impact on the environment, and their role for the implementation of the 2030 Agenda. I would also like now to draw your attention to the UNESCO latest publication entitled UNESCO Creative Cities Responses to COVID-19. This publication features a wide variety of culture-driven urban practices and innovative actions undertaken by over 90 creative cities around the globe, providing us more evidence of how culture is supporting people during these trying times. 7 gastronomy and food-led initiatives undertaken by the cities of Bergamo, Chengdu, Gaziantep, Hyderabad, Macau, Porto Viejo, and San Antonio also feature in this publication. And allow me to thank all the cities of gastronomy for having shared their incredible knowledge and experience with us. The organization recently established a UNESCO Cities platform, which brings together all cities network and program, including the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, to harmonize and reinforce UNESCO's work on cities across its areas of expertise. Several meetings have been held during the last months, and most recently on the occasion of the World Cities Day. One speaker, a chef, Madame Adeline Gradard, mentioned and emphasized during the pandemic the role of gastronomy and the impact of the pandemic on the gastronomic sector. And she also recalled that gastronomy is playing an essential role in overcoming these trying times. To unite our force, our efforts, UNESCO calls on all its creative cities to exchange ideas and knowledge and collaborate together with UNESCO through joint activities and initiatives that advocate for a greater role of food and gastronomy in urban development post-COVID-19, notably on the occasion of key yearly moments such as Sustainable Gastronomy Day in June and World Food Day in October. To conclude, I wish you all a successful and fruitful meeting, and I look forward to hearing the outcomes of this meeting. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. And we respect and esteem, I thank your gracious words of friendship and support. Your interventions have offered many interesting ideas for our discussions. And now I will briefly tell you about my city and what we are doing regarding the great themes of food production and food sustainability. Bergamo, I say this for the very few who don't know it, is a city with an original structure on two levels, the upper town and the lower town. The ancient city, Città Alta, is nestled on the hills and bordered by imposing Venetian walls, and is the setting of the lower city, more modern but also rich in charm, art and history. Apart from this difficult moment, the city is dynamic and constantly evolving, animated, and for some years the destination of significant national and international tourist flows. In addition to the museums and the art treasures, events and landscapes, Bergamo offers gastronomic heritage rich in traditional products, including Greek cheese, which have always represented a strong link between the city and its valleys, between tradition and present, economy and culture. This is where Bergamo's candidacy for UNESCO Creative City was born, from the awareness of the culture and creative relevance of the know-how that has allowed the local dairy tradition to establish itself and to improve over the centuries, even in an economic context characterized by the clear prevalence of the manufacturing sector, so much that today it represents a significant element of the economy of the Bergamo area, as well as of its identity. While industry and services grew, becoming the backbones of the economy, the agriculture and food world reached absolute excellence by obtaining 11 PDO awards, including 9 types of cheese, in addition to the DOCG and 2 DOC in the wine sector, 2 PGI, and the certification of over 20 traditional agri-food products. The enhancement of the local products, the increased awareness of their role in the construction of a sustainable development model, the employment contribution offered by this sector to the resilience of mountain areas, make Bergamo and its province an interesting case history. The city of Bergamo acted as a pivot and showcase for a project supported by a complex territorial network, which has found its natural outlet in the candidacy for Creative City and which has been able to count on the support of numerous institutional entities, eager to broaden our gaze towards international context and collaborations. Cooperation with the UCCN represents a unique opportunity for growth and promotion of our territory, also through the creation of technical training courses that preserve and update traditional knowledge, and the sharing of good practices. Belonging to the Creative Cities Network makes it possible to systematize the experience gained in very diversified contexts, and through different views, by converging towards the same goal, it allows fruitful exchanges of knowledge and the construction of common projects. In the preparation of the application on dossier, Bergamo focused its attention in particular on sustainable development goals, in line with the goals of the United Nations 2030 Agenda. I mean, improve working conditions, SDG 8, integrate landscape conservation into the sharing of knowledge and research projects, SDG 9 and 11, and 12, exploit the experience of human resources, SDG 4 and 5, educating citizens about sustainability, SDG 4, 11 and 15, fight against urbanization, depopulation of mountain areas, SDG 11 and 13. The creation of the application dossier was a valuable path of maturation for all those who worked on it and allowed the emergence of unsuspected amount of experience, projects, economic realities that, even independent from each other, were working in the same direction. Gathering this creative and vital energy around a unique project represented the first results of entering the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. Particular attention is paid to supporting entrepreneurship in the agri-food and gastronomy sectors, seen as the engines of the economic and social development capable of improving the quality of life and promoting the inclusion of multiple social groups. It is no coincidence that Bergamo was chosen by host the G7 of Agriculture in 2017, dedicated to the future of food and agriculture development. Our city is signatory of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact with over 200 cities and of the Milan Charter of the Mountains. The attention to creativity linked to food finds expression in many initiatives, among which I like to remember the International Fair Agri-Travel and Slow Food Expo, the Food Film Festival, and the Pastoralism Festival. Note that the transhumans in 2019 won UNESCO status. Bergamo has established urban gardens for the inclusion of disabled people, school gardens, urban gardens available to citizens in the neighborhoods. It created the Bergamo Green Portal and its partner in the Bio-District of Social Agriculture, and has been recognized, together with the provinces of Eastern Lombardy, as a European region of gastronomy. The municipality hosts the Permanent Table of Agriculture, recently transformed into a Permanent Table of Food Policy, while the regional Parco dei Colli, of which the Hills area is part of, protects 4,700 hectares of partially used green space for urban agriculture. The administration has a delegation for a food policy with important social and educational implications and projects aimed at most vulnerable people in training on proper nutrition for young people. The aspiration of the city of Bergamo is to favor the interweaving of creativity in gastronomy with that of other clusters. I'm thinking to the Donizetti Opera Festival, the International Piano Festival of Bergamo and Brescia, the masterpieces of great exhibitions of the Accademia Carrara, the Booksellers Fair, the oldest in Italy, the Bergamo Narrative Award, the Masters of Landscape, or the Bergamo Film Meeting. The operational objectives to which Bergamo is committed are, at national level, first, the establishment of an agricultural district that supports and fosters links between farms and food production. Second, the integration of culture and creativity into local development strategies, including support to the B2 Cheese project, launched by Forme, a unique event where business, education, and culture are united in an innovative format. The creation of training courses for professionals who promote the cultural and economic value of dairy products of the aerobic valleys. At the international level, these are the goals. The promotion of traditional cheese from creative cities, with the main objective of preserving, narrating, and sharing the artisanal tradition of cheese and the ancient techniques used. The signing of an international convention on the traditional knowledge of dairy products and cheeses, involving the UCC and enhancing the different local tradition. And last, the organization of events involving the creative clusters of gastronomy, literature, and music worldwide. The goals are ambitious but concrete, according to the spirit that unites the vision of sustainable development which characterizes the Creative Cities Network. Thank you for your attention. Now I give the floor to Claudio Cecchinelli, Head of the Culture and UNESCO Office in the Municipality of Bergamo, who will introduce all the speakers and whom I thank, together with his staff, for their competence and professionality. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to the mayor of the city. Thank you to Mr. Giorgio Gori. And now let me introduce our friends from creative cities from all over the world. So, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Brazil is still morning, in Tucson as well. And good night to our friends from creative cities in Asia or Oceania and Australia that are listening to us. So we start with a very, very close creative city, that's Alba. I think that everybody knows truffles from Alba, but we know that it's a lot more in that wonderful city. Emanuele Bolla, Municipal Councillor for Tourism and UNESCO Creative Cities from Alba, will talk us about land marketing, territory, culture, and local products as strategic assets. Thank you, Emanuele, for being with us this afternoon.
Well, thank you very much. Before I go through this brief presentation of our city, I really want to thank the mayor, Giorgio Gori, my good friend Claudio Cecchinelli, our good friend Claudio Cecchinelli, and Francesco Maroni, the organizer for Forme, which is a good friend of Alba as well. Before I go full screen, I just want to talk about my city really quickly, really briefly. In 2017, Alba was designated UNESCO city for creativity in the area of gastronomy. Obviously, this recognition is very important to us and is a great occasion of growth and also responsibility and awareness of who we are and where we want to go. The most important elements of sustainability in the sector of growth of our city are obviously the landscape, which is also recognized for being a site in the UNESCO World Heritage Program, the Langhe, Monferrato, and Roero hills. And obviously the ingredients, which are the most important things we have, because with those ingredients we make our products and our food. So our gastronomy is based on different ingredients, and in this brief presentation we try to put everything into a symbolic menu with whom we want to go with you through this ideal and digital meal. As a start, we have the taste of hills, vineyards, and the pitch of tradition. As I said, Alba is located in the Langhe and Roero area, which is a magnificent and amazing area which surrounds our city. And it's not only a frame, but it's also an element of production, because with those hills we make amazing wines. And through those hills, we can find the first course of this meal, which are the truffles. Truffles from Alba white truffles are worldwide known and are a part of our pride because with those products we go through the world and we use truffles as ambassadors of our city. As a main course, we can see the tasting of food secrets. Food secrets because we make food with creativity, and we try to bond creativity with tradition, and that's one of the key factors of the success of our gastronomy, because we share the tradition of the ancient recipes with the innovation of Michelin stars that are all over the region of Langhe and Monferrato. Of course, we have cheese, but we don't want to talk about that too much because we think that Forme is a magnificent occasion to see and try cheeses, but we want to do that in the future, maybe next year. Hopefully we will be able to see each other in person. So we want to save this for the next year. As a dessert, we have the Piedmont hazelnut, also wild world known. With the Piedmont hazelnut, we make obviously the different type of dessert. We make torrone, but probably the most famous product from Alba and one of the most famous products from the nation is Nutella, which is made in Alba, obviously with amazing hazelnuts. We already said something about wines. But in this occasion, I want to invite you in the name of the city of Alba to Vinum, which is one of the most important moments of our city. And maybe we will have the chance to see each other there next year or in the years to come. Obviously, after dinner, we invite everybody to have a walk through the city. And we hope that this will be possible in the future. We held and we hosted the International Truffle Fair also this year. We tried. We made 3 important weeks. We were supposed to make 9, but we decided to stop because on one side we wanted to improve and to help the economical situation of the city, but it came a time of responsibility, so we decided to stop it when it was right. And we had the occasion to do the International Truffle Fair also by picking here and there some ideas and share our ideas with others, as Madame Denise Bax also suggested. In the field of creativity, we can say that, as I said before, the most important ingredients are all from the region Langhe and Monferrato, and one great example of what we do and the idea that stays behind everything we do is represented by Enrico Crippa, 3 Michelin star chef that has his restaurant here in the main square of Alba, and he has a field where he grows all his ingredients, and that's very interesting because he grows ingredients from all over the world, but here. And I'm about to conclude. I just want to share with you some ideas that we had. We tried this year to expand our network of relationships, also outside of the network of gastronomy, and try to touch other sides of the network, such as art and cinema. We decided to nominate an ambassador of creativity from Alba. Mr. Valerio Berruti will be the ambassador of Alba for this entire next year, so for the whole 2021 year. And we will go with him and with his amazing artworks all over the world, possibly, if the pandemic will allow us. And in conclusion, I want to present you an amazing example of resilience. As Mr. Ambassador Massimo Riccardo said, we have to be and to look through these moments. We have to be resilient. And What some producer of wine from Barolo did here was going in a small village, Castelmagno, which was going down. There were no people there. They took some buildings and they created an amazing structure where you can go as a hotel and room. So thank you very much for attention, and again, thank you for this invitation.
Thank you, Emanuele. Thank you for what you explained us about Alba and its way to improve the knowledge of the territory and to improve the economic importance of a very important sector like agriculture and agri-production in Alba. And now we are flying to Southern America, to Brazil, where in Belo Horizonte, Paulo Henrique de Matos Almeida, but we know that in Brazil are less formal than in Europe, so I can call you simply Paulo Henrique, I think. And from Minas Gerais, Belo Horizonte, he will talk us about the cheese colonization in the state of Minas Gerais. Welcome, Paulo.
Thank you. Good afternoon and greetings for all. Firstly, I wish to thank Mr. Hoffi, Mr. Bernabe, Mr. Ricardo, Mrs. Bex, Mr. Gori, Mr. Cecchinelli, the Unesco, the municipality of Bergamo, and the government of Belo Horizonte. I also wish to apologize for my rusty English, but I will try to pass the information the clearest I can. Please. In this speak, I will talk about the cultural and historical aspects of the cheese in the state of Minas Gerais and the impact in the Belo Horizonte gastronomical context. And when we think about the history of the cheese in Minas Gerais, we must keep in our mind four words: economical crisis, survival, and adaptation. During the 16th and the 11th centuries, the economical links between the Brazilian colony and the Portuguese crown were established, focusing the world trade of wood and sugar, the last one, in fact, as a world trade monopoly. This relation is changed when the monopoly of sugar is broken in the second half of the 11th century. Realizing the downfall in their incomes, both governments decided to start the occupation and the exploitation of the lands until then unexplored. These explorations were mixed with Portuguese, Açorians, and Brazilians. They started aiming to find gold, silver, and diamonds, but with the unknown territory to travel, part of the incoming explorers had to settle in these new territories to ensure the ownership of the land and also to support the follow-up incursions. The main exploratory flows originated from the then capital, Salvador, then the future capital, Rio de Janeiro, and the actual area of the state of São Paulo. The main problem was that these explorers came from subtropical or islandish or litorraneous climates. In Minas Gerais, we have predominantly the Cerrado biome, also known as Brazilian savanna. Simplifying its aspects, in our farm this year, we had temperatures between 1 to 42 degrees Celsius and humidity between 10 to 98%. This kind of variation meant that they, in the same year, were or in a semi-desertic climate or in a rainforest climate. They also had to worry about the animals and the plants, which safe or unsafe to eat. With this kind of questions, they brought the technology at their disposal to survive: cheese. The heaviest cargo in the strips were transported in wagons tracked by oxes and cows mainly. Each day they milked the cows and produced cheese to ensure a minimum amount of food to feed them. Originally, they used the cardo, a wild plant originated from the Portuguese mountains, as a rennet to add in the milk and produce the cheese. But continuing the expeditions, the cardo supply ended, forcing these explorers and settlers to adapt. The big picture now shows outsiders trying to develop their activities using and adapting their techniques with local ingredients. At this time, the main influences are the Açorians and the Portuguese. Then, to continue the cheese production, they had to try new forms of productions. After some tests, they discovered that the armadillo's stomach filled with salt and then smoked in bonfires could give a similar result in cheese production. Then The occupation of this territory grew up steadily with the discovery of gold and diamonds in Minas Gerais. This fact increased the implementation of state controls in the territory. The people start to mix their culture, not just Europeans, but also Brazilians from the entire colony. This creates new demands both in service and in products. One of these new habits were the consume of different types of cheeses. The most interesting at that time was the Dutch Edam. Once this cheese had to be bought from the Portuguese merchants, it was known as queijo do reino, kingdom's cheese. The appetite for cheese was so big that the government decided to contract Dutch cheese masters to develop the production in Minas Gerais. So along the 19th century, please pass the slide and another time. So along in the 19th century, start to arrive Dutch and Danish cheese produced to develop the production of different cheeses. They reached the southern and southeastern parts of Minas Gerais territories with a less aggressive climate. They developed a first successful industry of fine cheese in Minas Gerais. As the Portuguese before them, they had to adapt their knowledge to the local climate. The main problem in this activity was the use of the rennet. Until now, the entire rennet supply in Brazil is imported. But even so, the Brazilian cheese market is still growing, bringing in the late 800s, Italian immigrants came from the states of São Paulo and Espírito Santo. They settled in the south and southwestern parts of Minas Gerais also. This increase in demand created an opportunity used by the descendants of the first Dutch established in Minas Gerais. In 1923, they created the first rennet factory in Brazil called Fábrica de Coalhos Frisia rennet factory. This represents an enormous advantage for the Brazilian producers. Not just the industry, but also the regular small producer could access a high quality rennet. This increment in the quality of the production spreads in the entire state, implying the general increase of quality and the recognition of Minas Gerais cheeses. After some decades being consumed and recognized as high quality cheeses, the legislators and the government create specific laws about cheeses in Minas Gerais and in Brazil, recognize two geographical indications, and register the traditional artisanal Minas Gerais cheese as a national immaterial cultural patrimony. But how does this impact in Belo Horizonte? The state of Minas Gerais can be described as a small-scale Brazil, with approximately 587,000 square kilometers and 20 million people. It had borders with 6 states and the federal district. Its people came from the different regions of the country, set in different geographical contexts. This meant that each region has its own culture, vocabulary, recipes, and ingredients, accordingly with each natural context. Belo Horizonte was planned and created in the late 800s as a space to concentrate all these microcultures, their beliefs and habits. With a common culture developed by the Portuguese roots, its people had a common background but mixed to each reality. The new capital represented the central point, not only in political and public administration, but also in the space in which all the Minas Gerais people go, manifest, and interact with all inner cultures, including their ingredients and recipes, fusing a multicultural universe in something unique. Please pass the slide. And again, besides their their natural instinct to protect their culture, Belo Horizonte people are paradoxically curious about new influence, mixing it with their own culture. This is clearly seen in the evolution of cheese consumption, in its recipes developed in the small enterprise like pubs and bars, and also in the finest restaurants, walk on the edge between the traditional and the innovative. This creativity, the diverse of numerous types of cheese, and the passion for food, hospitality, and culture made Belo Horizonte and its people one of the biggest references in Brazil when we think in gastronomical tourism. Finally, I wish to put myself at your disposal to answer any questions in my social network. I try to explain 400 years in 10 minutes, but I hope I can be a little bit more speak it in the next by direct contact. I wish to thank all the authorities, the organization of the summit, in special Mr. Boffa, representing the Belo Horizonte Bureau of Tourism, and the governments of Belo Horizonte and Minas Gerais, my wife Paula, my children Felipe and Olivia, and my parents. Thank you very much and keep safe.
Thank you so much, Paolo. You have been very creative, because 400 years in 10 minutes, in less than 10 minutes, it's a great, great, great result. But we are creative cities. And you really made us understand the importance of exchange of knowledges and mixture of cultures in creating new products and cultures. And now, from the late spring of Minas Gerais, we are going to the late autumn in Bergen, Norway, where Ruth Rørvik, the focal point of Bergen, UCC of Gastronomy, we talk us about food tourism, places as destination, and typical products as ambassadors. And we know very well that Bergen is a beautiful place to go, because the nature is great, the city is great, and food is very, very good. So, Ruth, let us know something about your activity in Bergen.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction. Grazie molto a Bergamo per l'invitazione per presentare la storia di Bergen come città creativa. I'll continue in English, of course. So this is Bergen also. A product of Bergen is also cheese. So we start with this one. The challenge for me was to talk about places as the destination, products as ambassadors. So, Bergen, this is my city. Our slogan is that Bergen should be a good city to visit because it's a good city to live in. So our strategy is to coordinate how we work with the tourism sector and how we build an attractive city for the visitors. So I hope during this presentation you will get a taste of Bergen, and maybe someday after this whole situation is over, you can visit us also. So Bergen is the second largest city in Norway, 282,000 inhabitants, small in the international scale, big for Norwegian. We call it the city of 7 mountains, and you can see one of the pictures is one of the 7 mountains. For the locals, we love to go up in the mountains when it's not raining. We don't need sun. We don't expect too much, but just going up in the mountains is something we do every weekend. So that's like a taste of the local life. We also often go look at the wooden houses. Tourists also like to visit us. We had 3.3 million guests in 2019. And the tourism industry has 1,200 companies within tourism and 11,000 employees. My whole presentation is Bergen in a normal year and not the COVID situation, which of course, as many countries, has changed the situation for us. So what's the reasons to go to Bergen? This is part of the brand that we talk about, Bergen as a destination. Like I would sum it up with fjords, food, and city life. Bergen is a Unesco destination. We were a Unesco World Heritage City since 1979. We have the Bryggen Wharf that you can see on the top picture. That is listed there as a cultural heritage. It's also, we call it the heart of the fjords. We're very close to the fjords, so Bergen is kind of the gateway to go to the fjords. And since 2015, we're also a very proud member of the Unesco Creative City of Gastronomy network. And this takes me to the next thing. The travelers want local food. So we discovered that even though nature is the main selling point for Norway, most people come to Norway to see the fjords, for example. The local cuisine has been gaining a lot of attraction and a lot of interest. And actually 8 out of 9 segments of likely visitors to Norway, they want to taste the local food and drink. So it is an interest to understand. It is like part of the identity that they want to get to know. And if you see the facts for the restaurant industry, 44% of the income comes from tourism. And Bergen is a foodie destination. We're the only Norwegian UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy. Also, just 1 week ago, we were named one of the 10 most underrated foodie destinations of the world. But Chef's Pencil, which is it's a professional organization for chefs. And also we had a very nice visit from Gordon Ramsay in Bergen. We were all very starstruck, of course. And when he talked about Bergen, he said that one of the important things about Bergen was the high quality of the ingredients, which taps right into the theme of this summit, that the ingredients are an important part of the gastronomy of a place. So products can be ambassadors. And also, like, why can products be ambassadors, and how is it linked to nature? As I said, nature has traditionally been what has been the selling point for Bergen, but nature is also where you produce the food. And terroir, it does matter for the quality of the products. So we call it sometimes the flavor of the fjords, the link between the nature and the quality of the products. And we have been communicating more about this link to really show the whole picture of Bergen. For example, I'm not going to talk a lot about seafood. It's well known that we export salmon. We used to export a lot of stockfish. I'm going to talk about some other products also. Cider, for example. We have an up-and-coming, award-winning cider production in Norway. It's Artisan Cider. It's from Hardanger, so it's like the most beautiful fjord, and they have these apple areas. It's really nice. The quality of the apples is linked to the climate, actually, the long growth period. Yeah, the fact that it's cold. So it's like drinking cider is like an apple, but in liquid form. You can like feel the whole apple. So it's local restaurants are like fine dining restaurants now have cider tasting instead of wine tasting, and cider menus, etc. So there you have this good link between nature and craft and place all together. And this is fairly new in the scale that it's now, and the demand is quite high. And of course, I mean, this Bergamo, Italy is very well known for cheese. So this is not new for you, that cheese is important to represent the history and the craft and the nature. And we wanted to participate in your good event, and we sent 3 cheeses that we wanted to send that represent what we think is a Bergen and also a bit of Norway. So we sent you the Gouda cheese, which winner of the World Cheese Awards 2018 is from Bergen. And the thing is that it has like this product, and also the award and the recognition it has got has been very important, both for the locals and also internationally, to show that the Norwegian cheese has a high quality. Cheeses can represent and express history, climate, and terroir. The Norwegian artisan cheese community is quite small, but it's very collaborative. So they say that that's one of the main assets and why it has the quality has been so high. It's terroir, yes, but it's also the craftsmanship, and that they actually share their best practices with each other. So a taste of Bergen. Well, we show off Bergen, for example, through food tunnels. This is a professional travel workshop. We had a food tunnel. We showed off products from Bergen to the professional travel agents. So when they will book a trip to Bergen, they also have tasted it. So the City of Gastronomy food tunnel was like, you enter one place, you were in the food place, and then you went back to reality. So it was getting a lot of attraction. It's a very easy thing to do, but still just to get you into the situation where everything that matters is the taste of the product. Also, audiovisually, the Bergen food stories. We've shown up some of our local products. They have been, I'm not going to show the video, I don't have time for that, but we have maybe 20 videos or something that show off a bit of Bergen, our food, nature, talk to some of the local chefs, and there on YouTube if you want to watch sometime. We see that they're popular. Like this one, in a couple of months, it was 1 million people that visited it. So it's interesting for people to get to know the story. This is just like a local initiative, but we want to build the city also for citizens. So we have official Pashatorsk Day. So it's a local signature dish made of cod, a special preservation method. And it was a 20-minute discussion among politicians on the importance of signature dishes and local food. And now we have one day a year where we serve Pashatorsk on elderly homes and restaurants and food conferences, etc. And we look into doing more of this. We also want to include the local chefs as ambassadors for food products and also for signature dishes. So after audition round, we had a CV, we had auditions, professional panel, chose 11 of the best chefs of Bergen to represent Bergen. And they had to have 2 signature dishes that represent the Bergen region. Afterwards, we made videos of this. So they present the products, they also present the producers, and they present the recipe, the complete recipe, and we put them out. For now, it's in Norwegian, but we want to also make some of them available in English to reach a broader audience. So this is another example on how we want to brand Bergen as a city of gastronomy, internationally, of course, but also on the same time, we rediscover some old Bergen dishes that are really good and should not be forgotten. It's important craft, important recipes, and making videos available is one of the ways we do this. Another way is, of course, like we have a great collaboration with so many cities of gastronomy, and we have some of the cities have visited us several times. And we hope that the situation in the world will improve and that we will see the other cities' gastronomy. And well, any one of you that wants to come to Bergen, of course, Bergen is always there wanting to let you get a taste of Bergen. So thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Ruth. I hope I can be back soon in Bergen to taste the cider as well. I've never tasted that. And there is a new cider production starting in Bergamo. So another expertise to exchange between our cities. From Norway to Spain, Burgos, beautiful city and a wonderful cathedral. I'm not sure, but I think that in 2021, there will be a birthday, 800 years. I'm not sure. I speak bad English and I do a lot of mistakes in history and English, so I can mix my mistakes. Let's ask Enrico Riarte from Universidad de Burgos, Laboratorio de Evolución Humana, about his city and about agriculture, land, food and health, a shared responsibility. Welcome, Enrico.
Hello, welcome. Bon pomeriggio to everybody. And first of all, I would like to thank to all the people involved in organizing the Congress for making it possible, even in this unfortunate pandemic situation. And also to all the assistants and web spectators. I'm Enrico Iriarte, a lecturer and researcher at the University of Burgos. And in this joint presentation with Burgos Gastronomy Creative City, we wanted to publicize the collaboration that we are carrying out between human evolution researchers and gastronomy, where we address issues directly related to the title of this presentation, like agriculture, land, food, and health. As creative city of gastronomy, Burgos has formed part of the network since 2015, thanks to the project based on the experimental study into the human body's consumption of energy in related to a healthy diet. This study was presented under the name of Human Engines and aims to generate awareness at local and international level of the relationship between human evolution and gastronomy. In this sense, Creative City of Gastronomy works with the experience of the University of Burgos in different programs relating to biotechnology and nutrition, food technology, or avant-garde gastronomy. Thanks to Burgos' proximity to the archaeological sites of the Atapuerca Mountains, just 15 kilometers away, this exceptional enclave distinguished the city candidature, making it a reference point for studying human evolution that was also recognized by UNESCO, which declared it a World Heritage Site in 2000. Throughout the human evolution, gastronomy has defined humankind, its characteristics, its very evolution, its physiological attributes, and more. Hunting and gathering have been our method of survival until very recently, and the arrival of agriculture and the domestication of animals took place in various parts of the planet less than 10,000 years ago. It was the so-called Neolithic Revolution, the onset of our way of life, including current food like cereals, milk, several fermented foods, etc., but also the origins of our current gastronomy and our healthy customs, and also diseases. For example, some of the diet-related intolerance as related with the lactose not persistence or the gluten assimilation, among others. Our sites are not only bones, but everyday living remains. And of course, we study many rests and proxies of diet, food, health, and landscape evolution, and find several facts that are related to them. We can find many issues relating current agriculture, land, food, and health. Let me introduce you a colleague that will help me to show you some interesting things we are doing. Here in the photograph, you can see a 6-year-old Neolithic boy called Matojo from El Portalón site in Atapuerca. The El Portalón site is one of the sites, an incredible cave site to study especially the last 10,000 years of human and socioeconomical evolution, from Neolithic to Middle Ages. Our paleogenetic and paleoanthropological analysis of Matojo remains revealed that suffering from severe diet-related rickets and scurvy, probably due to metabolic problems related to dairy consumed during famine, since he and most of the Neolithic people were lactose intolerant, exactly as a growing number of people nowadays. Our research aims to discover, for example, the mechanisms that led to convert our society lactose tolerant, a really hot spot in the current food medicine, whose part of the solution could be discovered thanks to the creative and collaborative researchers from apparently distant research topics. As its Neolithic inhabitants did, thanks to its geography featuring a wide variety of climates and altitudes, the province of Burgos generates a great abundance of different products, from its carefully tended agriculture, livestock farming, and the maintenance of customs such as hunting and fishing. Burgos is also well known throughout Spain for its food as a result of the products that take its name, such as the black pudding morcilla de Burgos or the fresh cheese queso de Burgos, yes, which are the most popular and are available in different local varieties. In addition to this, the shaking lamb, roast meats, and stews attract an increasing number of foodies to the city's restaurants. And of course, we cannot forget about the legumes, a basis of the Mediterranean diet, with the magnificent Ibeas bean and the caparrón de Belorado bean that has been very fine skinned and is cooked slowly with a knot of fat. The famous olla podrida stew, the rotten pot, uses these products to make a mouth-watering and filling dish. Of course, the Burgos potato is an essential garnish for these dishes. Bread and wine are staple foods and the perfect complement to these products from the region. In Burgos, the torta de aranda bread is a delicacy, washed down with the designation of origin wines of Arlanza or Ribera del Duero, two wine growing districts that are very well established in the national and international markets. Adding to this culinary offering are the miniature dishes that restaurants, bars, cafes, taverns, and inns prepare and tempt us with their bars that display an attractive selection of tapas, portions of rankings. More than enough excuses to head there for a foodie getaway. These are just some of the reasons why Burgos has become a creative city of gastronomy, the heart of the province for you to enjoy the delicacies. Interesting, in our archaeological sites at the Atapuerca Mountains, we find direct evidence of the origin of this current gastronomy. We found the earliest peninsular cereals and legumes, the main crop in Burgos nowadays, that were introduced by first Neolithic population 7,500 years ago. And more importantly, the revolution, that we can reconstruct their evolution and uses from then to the present through different cultures and costumes. The same happens with domestic animals that have fed us since then and have a special tradition in Burgos gastronomy, such as a lamb, the blood sausage, morcilla, cheese, or the bread or beverages as the beer or wine. All of them well-known local products that strengthen our economy and define our diet and food health. Through our archaeological and advanced biomolecular analysis techniques, we are discovering remains of different products and foods, even recipes that contained the pottery vessels thousands of years ago, and trace their evolution over time to our dishes, opening new frontiers in the use and elaboration of really ancient products or recipes to our magnificent and very creative cooks. But at the current uncertain and changing climatic and social scenario, all these products and way of life must be preserved and boosted for future generations. It's our shared responsibility to preserve our products, our way of life, and environment to let the future generations a better legacy. A better legacy that will come from conscientious people living in creative cities as Burgos and the other cities present in this Congress. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eneko. Thank you for this very interesting link between past and present archaeological times and our way of archaeological museum in Bergamo cooks like Romans during the year, and also sometimes like Egyptians. It's a little different, but we can do that. We stay in Spain, but we go to the Mediterranean Sea in Denia, where Floren Terrades is the director of the Municipal Office for Innovation and Creativity Food Tourism, and that we talk about places as destinations and typical products as ambassadors. Thank you, Floren, for being with us this afternoon. I remember Denia also has something to do with paella. I'm not. Yeah. So let's listen to Floren.
Good afternoon. First of all, on behalf of the City Council of Denia, I would like to thank Bergamo for inviting us to take part in this international summit. My speech is focusing, on the best practices that are making Denia a food destination. Well, it's located in the east of Spain. It has 42,000 inhabitants and is the administrative capital of Marina Alta region, counting 33 towns and almost 200,000 inhabitants in total. It is located in the Valencian community, one of the 17 regions that make up Spain. Then it's a Mediterranean city. The main source of income is tourism. Many visitors come to Denia looking for its wonderful beaches and environmental and cultural resources. But as I said before, Denia is considered a sun and beach tourist resort. But since its designation as a UNESCO City of Gastronomy in 2015, we are working on the concept of food tourism destination. Why? Well, because we have seen gastronomy as a very important factor for diversifying tourism and stimulating local economic development, extending the tourist season beyond July and August. So in order to increase the influx of tourists and visitors out of the summer season. The question is, what does gastronomy mean to us? We consider gastronomy as an ecosystem that encapsulates all these elements. We are talking about recovering heritage. We are talking about local food system, alliance and spaces for dialogue, community and hospitality tourism industry, of course, and environmental protection and sustainability. We have to talk about territorial identity, what is apparent. And the territorial identity is made up of place branding, tourist gastronomic products offer. We are talking about stakeholders, territories, places, and so on. But territorial identity is only the visible part of the iceberg. The territorial identity is based on a broader base, the cultural identity, what is intangible. So we are talking about values, authenticity, genuineness, the concept made in Denia, but also participation, governance, synergies. Let's explain some good practices that are the basis of our food ecosystem. We have talked about dialogue, community. So our culinary festivals follow such philosophy. For example, the DNA Festival is the only food festival that takes place along the beach, on the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. We are going for the second edition, and its curator is our chef, Quique da Costa, with 3 Michelin stars. And of course, our agri-food producers are at the heart of the festival. Last year, the festival became a forum under the title Cooking a Land, Cultivating a Future. For 3 days, scientists, chefs, farmers debated and proposed solutions on the future of gastronomy and local food systems. More than 15 towns in the Marina Alta signed a declaration for protecting our biodiversity. And here we have the start of our gastronomic landscape, the red prawn of Denia, widely known and very popular in Spain. Every year we organize the international competition of the red prawn creative cuisine, where chefs from all over the world prepare their own creations using the famous red prawn of Denia. The competition takes place in the local food market. I should highlight our gastronomic community made up of chefs, very committed to our territory. That's very important. They are creative young people and they regard tradition as a way to innovate. Most of them have been trained at Marina Alta Tourism Center, our cookery school. Almost half of the Michelin stars from the Valencian community are in the Marina Alta, a total of 11 distributed in 8 restaurants. So we need to preserve traditional knowledge on food and farming and pass it on to new generations. This approach is on every education program. For example, in the Master in Rice and Mediterranean Haute Cuisine, our environmental values are highlighted. The Master is coordinated by Gasterra, an international center for Mediterranean gastronomy of the University of Alicante. The students learn cooking techniques of rice, a pivotal produce in our gastronomy. And paella, of course, is the main dish of our culture. Another example of this approach is the farmer training program. Skilled farmers are teaching new farmers, and it is an effective tool for passing know-how and technology on to the next generation. Well, we always say no farmers, no produce. If we do not protect primary schools, farmers, cattle raisers, lands are abandoned and rural areas lose population, tradition, crops, and so on. The fact is so appealing in Spain that we refer to it as the empty Spain. So our mission as a city of gastronomy is recovering these local varieties of agri-food produce. Here you have an example. In 2018, a rice variety of called bonbon rice was recovered after having vanished 40 years ago because of the pesticides. The Alliance of Chefs, the university and producers, has delivered a high quality produce, the rice bonbon, which is widely welcomed by customers and chefs for making paellas, of course. Another clear example is the recovery of the wheat by Mercat de Riurau Association. The result of the projects are very optimistic. Empty lands are now cultivated with that kind of wheat, and a high quality flour has been manufactured for bakeries and restaurants. And the most important thing, the future of one of our typical dishes, coques, is assured. Coques are a pastry made of wheat or corn flour, along with salted fish or vegetables topping, cooked in the oven. In the last years, the cultivation of Muscat grape has been recovered for making wine or raisins. It must be said that Muscat grape has been cultivated across the mountains in Marina Alta since the Roman and Arabic civilization. In the 19th century, the raisin industry in Denia was very important in the world markets. From the port of Denia, raisins were exported to countries such as the United Kingdom, the United States, and Canada. The grapes got dried under these kind of buildings called riuraus. And finally, they were packed in wooden boxes and exported by boat for the port of Denia to the rest of the world. So the renovation of this kind of buildings, the riuraus, has led to a walking touristic road that connects all the riuraus. This type of construction currently houses cultural activities, and some of them are used for selling local produce, local farmers markets, projects, and so on. Thanks to the recovery of Muscat in the recent years, we are now producing excellent wines, and of course, we are designing touristic products with it. Well, and finally, a last example is the project called Bancalet. The word Bancalet means little plot for growing vegetables in Valencian language. So Bancalet is a project on social innovation, linking agri-food producers and restaurants, on promoting local produce consumption, and on reactivating local economy. The main action is to create a brand for labeling local produce. So local produce would be labeled with the Bancale trademark in small businesses, restaurants, local food producers. So produce from local farmers in Denia will also label with this trademark. And it is all about putting value on our products. We believe it will help to strengthen our local food system and acknowledge the stakeholders' work. And of course, the diagnosis of the territory is very important. In 2018, we make a diagnosis to try to find more about our local food system, and science conclusions show a clear link between gastronomy and sustainability, which can help to shape a food destination. It is available for download at that webpage, deniacreative.city. So as a conclusion, as long as our cities show and sell culinary landscapes, as long as the territory is used as a tourist attraction, it is our duty to protect them. And the best way to do it is supporting local producers and to integrating them in our strategies of touristic destination promotion. So now it's my pleasure to invite you to watch a video about Denia as a foodie destination. So please, video. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Floren. So not only paella, but a lot of many other interesting products to discover in Denia in the next few months. From the Mediterranean Sea to the snowy Östersund. Is it right, Doug? So Doug Hartmann, the International Strategist Project Coordinator, International Projects, region of, oh my God, Jämtland, but you can pronounce it better than me, obviously. Focal point of Östersund that will talk us about innovation as lever.
Yes, thank you. You hear me? Oh, great. Yes, welcome to the north. We just experienced our first snow and cold, so we'll endure this cold and dark winter. But now we will talk about other things. And I have I work with the region of Jämtland Härjedalen, and also focal point of the Östersund city. And this is very important that we connected the rural and the urban, the city and the land. That's how we entered this Unesco Creative Cities network from the beginning. To work the rural and the urban. And I will share my presentation with you here. Yes. Okay, can you see it?
It works, Doug. Thank you.
Yes, and I will talk about my city, but I will also work. I want to talk a little with a perspective from our whole network, because I think talking about innovation, it's interesting to see where we are in the network in this COVID pandemic, but also how we can come out of it. So I will start to talk about my region, and we are big region in the north of Sweden with a small population, just 126,000 inhabitants. Half of them live in Östersund, the only city. And our economical activities were forestry, agriculture, and tourism. That's what we live on, basically. And we have an educational center, and we train a lot of small-scale food producers. Here you see some of them. And we work with the national center, so we train people from all over Sweden, and we're very proud of our products and our producers in our city. And we decided to have an international perspective to promote ourselves and our products and now internationally, and that's why we joined the Creative Cities Network in very early 2010. We were among the first cities entering this network, and then we have worked for the last 10 years in the theme of food, gastronomy, culture, and tourism to connect these three legs in our regional and urban development, which is not that easy because these different organizations talking different languages, but we had some progress. And also, we very proudly had the Creative Cities Network as arranging the annual meeting 2016. They were here in my city, in my region, and we had a really good time here, and it made a mark in our development. And just to give some view of our group, here is the UNESCO Creative Cities Gastronomy group. This is from Krakow, 2018. We led the group as coordinator for quite many years, and then 2018 we left over to Parma, who will speak after me, that now is coordinating this network. And you see it's global. It's 36 cities from all over the cities, 22, as Denise Bach said, 22 countries. And of course, we work in the UN 2030 agenda. That is our framework, and here I have written your gift to the world. That's how we work in our group. We are specialized. We have different assets. We are good at different things, which we bring into our work, and it reflects different parts of the 2030 agenda. And we also have 12 different themes that we work in. For example, creative economy, tourism, traditional knowledge, and that means we have different challenges in our cities that we also bring into this cooperation in the network. And then when your assets meet up, when your challenges meet assets from other cities, we can really match these and have a very good development in different projects. So we did have a really good development. We had good projects. We had well over 100 projects together in this group. And what happened? Then came COVID-19 and everything was upside down. And then we tried to document all the activities we did with the COVID-19 in our network. And then we said to Paris, and from that they chose some of our activities to highlight and promote. But the interesting thing is when we compiled all these projects and activities going on in our 36 cities, we did about the same thing, but in a little different context. We work with monitoring and regulation of our cities and regions. We did medical and health to take care of the sick and the old. You did a lot of communication to make everything understand. We supported economy and business, mainly in the food and tourist businesses, and also we had a lot of social support because of the difficulties. For example, people staying home and children, and lots of things happen. So these 5 different themes, everyone worked with them, but in a sort of a different way. So we're not that unlike in our approach to challenges. But for now then, we have to go back. So I call it build back better. So, and the COVID-19 has highlighted the fragility of our food system. So what can we do for the future? How can we come out of this in a good way? And whatever I think we agree of here and what I've seen from other regions is that we need to the food systems need to be restored to be more robust and resilient to safeguard the value chains of food. So we don't see these future breakdowns and we can keep up our food security. And also we have to support our small producers, our in our group before the COVID-19 came into our lives. We had well over 100 projects, and I will highlight very briefly 3 of them. Our Australian new partner, Bendigo, north of Melbourne, which work with indigenous food system that work with the indigenous people and the traditional knowledge to increase the knowledge of First Nations food system, and they had a lot of interesting land management practices that they wanted to introduce from their traditions. It's very interesting, and they also included this in working for fighting climate change, because that's very important for them. And lastly, we had a good project from Arequipa. That's our partner from Peru, healthy eating. Promotion of healthy eating or traditional gastronomy in different ways. And this was aimed at vulnerable population, social support. So very good projects, and I hope we can come up with this COVID situation and we can restart our very creative projects, initiatives, but of course in a new way. And this is what I see from our work, compiling the different projects, what we are, the themes I think we should work with, because that's very common projects in international cooperation. And that is to work with sustainable events and festival, and with food, energy, transportation and everything. And of course, in a new way of in the after context of the pandemic. Traditional knowledge system, I see many of our partners try to take the inspiration and knowledge from the tradition, and with modern science and technology adapt them to new innovative products and systems. And also the last one, climate change, regarding sustainable production consumption of food, because I don't know this, but perhaps climate change is the next challenge, which might be much bigger than the pandemic. So this is something we have to look into in our future work. And one of my last picture, I wanted to include this to show the energy in the group. Here is some happy chefs in our last big event before the COVID-19. We are in Shunde, the Shunde Food Festival in South China, our sister city Shunde. Chefs show cooked for the public in the food festival. There were 1 million Chinese visitors to this, and we had a very good time. And you can see from the happy faces what energy international cooperation brings into our group, the creative cities of gastronomy. And I hope we will soon be there in travel and meeting and doing good things together into the benefit of all our cities. And I will give you my last picture here. That's my city. We don't have this much snow yet, but it will come, and you are very welcome to come and visit us, and we could share interesting projects and initiatives and look towards the post-corona environment, but because it will come, and we have to have hope for that. So thank you very much. Thank you for your attention, and I think I will stop there.
Thank you, Doug, for your invitation to Östersund. We will be there as soon as possible. And thank you also for the many ideas you have shared with us. It's always a pleasure listening to you. We're going back to Italy once again, this time Parma, the third creative city of gastronomy in Italy, where Cristiano Casa, the deputy mayor for the UNESCO project of the municipality of Parma, UCC of Gastronomy, will talk us about networking to compete. Welcome, Cristiano. It's very nice to see you again, and hope to see you soon in Parma or in Bergamo, of course.
Of course. Hello, one moment. Let me see. Okay. So, can you see the presentation?
Yes, it works perfectly. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. And first of all, I would like to thank the mayor of Bergamo, Giorgio Gori, and Claudio, all the staff from Bergamo. And hello to everybody. It's important, I think, to meet and to see each other, even if in this way. I can tell you that we really miss you. We hope, as all the other colleagues said, that we can see each other physically, because we really miss our meetings. Because first of all, it's important to see us, and especially it's important also to share experiences. In these years, when we met during the UNESCO meetings, I think the most important aspect from the UNESCO Creative City Networks has been always sharing experiences and sharing stories from our cities, from our lands. And what I would like to do today is to share one interesting practice we developed in my city, in Parma, which became Creative City of Gastronomy in 2015. And I think we reached that, let's say, award thanks to the fact that we work together. So we created a real network in the city among public and private players. So we joined together the target to become Creative City of Gastronomy, because we thought and we were, let's say, very convinced that if our land can be competitive, our single activities can be competitive if the land is competitive. So we have been working since 2015 on this project, and we created a board that we called Cabina di Regia, literally speaking means control room, which is a board in which we have all the main public and private actors in the food and agricultural business in the province of Parma. This board is promoted, of course, by the municipality of Parma, and has the clear aims to systematize every actor's skills in order to share, as it is written, sustainable development for our land that is known as the Italian Food Valley. The main resources, the core resourcing of this activity are our 4 Ps. So we have prosciutto di Parma, we have Parmigiano Reggiano, we have pomodoro, so tomato, and we have pasta. So the strategy we developed in our board is focused on these 4 points, 4 resources. Parma, you know that in Parma is developed roughly 20% of the Italian turnover made with GI products, so PDO products. And of course, we decided to work on this important point. And then we, in the board, we are working on these 3 areas, which are the areas that that were the main reference points for the UNESCO dossier, candidacy dossier. The first point is education. So in the board, we have with us our university, the University of Parma, with the course of gastronomy science, but also we have the masters organized by the university, and also the School of Advanced Studies on Food and Nutrition. Of course, we have also the secondary schools working on the food business, on the food, let's say, culture. And this is the idea is that our land can be recognized as the food valley, not only for production and for food, let's say, for gastronomy, but also speaking about education. The second point is experience. Experience means that in our board, we have together with us all the tourist operators, because of course people are traveling, and we perfectly know it, and we have seen from the previous presentations for gastronomy, for wine, and for food. So it is very important to work on this point. And then we have food museums, and we have the association of the restaurants of our province. And then the last point is production. So production, we have in our board the producer, the main producers of Parma, so Consortium of Parmigiano Reggiano, Consortium of Prosciutto di Parma, we have Barilla for pasta, we have Mutier and Rodolfi for tomato, so, and all the other important factories we have in our land. Altogether, we work, as I said, to enhance our land as the food valley. And one of the main initiatives we have actually working on is the gastronomy hub. So we decided to find a place where this strategy find the house, let's say. So we are going to call it La Città della Gastronomia, so the city of gastronomy. Actually, it is in a temporary location, but in some years we will transfer all in a old ancient monastery in the center of the city, where we want to synthesize all the project of Parma City of Gastronomy and Food Valley. We are working all together on events. Of course, we created a calendar of appointments which are dedicated to food creativity and food culture, of course, dedicated also to the UNESCO program. One of the main point is a whole month dedicated to culture of food, which is September Gastronomic, which will be next year. And another important moment will be in May next year, which is Cibus Off, so linked to the exhibition Cibus. One of the main events during the Gastronomic September will be La Cena dei Mille. Here we translated it in Dinner of 1,000 people sitting in the main street of the city, so the old Via Emilia, 500 meters of a table, so with a top dinner, and we really hope that next year it will be possible to organize it, and of course we will also invite you, because it will be important to celebrate next year, also because you will see we are working, as we said, on an international approach. So it's important for us to be a part, as I said, of the UNESCO Creative City Network, because, as I said at the beginning, it's important to create a network. Parma has been recognized as capital of culture, into Italian capital of culture for 2020. But because of COVID, we have been confirmed for next year, so 2021. So that's why I told you that we will. It will be a pleasure for us to invite you in Parma next year, as it happened also in past, because we want to celebrate this important occasion together with all of you, and also we hope to celebrate to finish this tragic pandemic. Of course, for us, being UNESCO Creative City of Gastronomy, but also Italian Capital of Culture, is an important pillar for our development, future development. Also, speaking about achieving the 2030 Agenda Sustainable Goals. So, as I said, this is for us an important point to explain the teamwork we created, so the network we created in the city, and I think it's important to share this concept, because it's something in our city which had big success, and especially because it was involving all different activities in the city, as you have seen. as I said, I really hope to share other experiences soon with you, because we really miss our relationship and our strong partnership we developed in these years. And I really confirm the invitation to see you next year in Italy, so in Bergamo or in Alba, but of course in Parma, and you are going to receive the invitation to come back to Parma once again, as we have seen in past. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you, Cristiano. One more place to visit, one more invitation. Thank you also for underlining the importance and the results of networking. Working together is fundamental for a creative city. And let me remember that in 2023, Bergamo will be the Italian capital of culture. So we must network next year to learn a lot about how being a very good Italian capital of culture like Parma. Let's fly to the other side of the ocean, of the Atlantic Ocean, and we are arriving in Tucson, Arizona, where Felipe Garcia is waiting for us. He is the executive vice president of Visit Tucson, and he will talk us about internationalization, e-commerce, and marketplaces. Welcome, Felipe Garcia. Welcome virtually. We are waiting for you in Bergamo as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. And yes, looking forward to being in Bergamo, hopefully very, very soon. Visit many of my friends that I can see here today, at least virtually and through this screen. Again, I'm Felipe Garcia. I'm the Executive Vice President of Visit Tucson and board member of the Tucson City of Gastronomy. So thank you for this opportunity to share some thoughts and ideas about what we're doing and some projects related to internationalization, e-commerce, and marketplaces in the area of gastronomy. So I'm going to be sharing a brief presentation. I will not talk a lot about Tucson, but mostly I'll talk about these elements that I want to discuss with you today. So when we are looking into your traditional food supply chain, we can see the elements from production, distribution, processing of goods, the consumption. But when we think about e-commerce and we talk about that retail transaction, we almost every time think about just that retail to consumer. We think that that's e-commerce. When I place an order online in a supermarket, or when I order online for food delivery on Uber Eats or other Grubhub. And that's in our mindset what e-commerce is. But this pandemic has presented a challenge, but also an interesting opportunity in the area of e-commerce. And it's how we connect the producer to that consumer. Not to skip the restaurant, not to skip the supermarket, but give an opportunity to that local producer that Florian was there talking a few minutes ago. When I think about, again, what's happening in the world, and I think about other communities, I mean, I see my friend Ruth, and I'm thinking about graphics of going into Bergen. Florian was talking to us about the gambas and the paella. And by the way, Florian, I'm cooking a paella this Sunday, hopefully will not be vandalized. I will do my best. I'll share some pictures. Cristiano has been very kind to receive us in Parma, Italy, and show us the cheese producers. And in DAG, I think you fed us some smoked deer, I think when we were in Östersund. So those producers, how we connected to consumers, and that's where we can see an interesting opportunity. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing in Tucson. So we've been building a platform where we're talking about bridging the gap, and it's that gap between the producer and the consumer. So when we talk about small producers, either farmers, either wine producers, cheese producers, many of them, they're experts in producing high quality product. Unfortunately, they miss the skills of e-commerce and technology. And that's a challenge. So in Tucson, partnering with other organizations like Startup Tucson, our business incubator and entrepreneurship program, the University of Arizona, IRCI, and you'll hear from Giuseppe in a few minutes, and our tourism office, we're working on ways to again, bridge that gap between technology and that consumer. So we're developing and deploying a new program. And this new program basically is helping small producers, first of all, get an online presence. An online presence is not just about putting a website, because there's this misconception of if you build it, they will come. Well, you have to build it, and then you have to market it, and then you have to promote it. So the integration is based on different factors. One of them is building content for those small producers, those farmers, those local producers, putting that content online. But rather than creating a new platform or a new website that then you have to generate traffic, that content will reside in our local tourism office website and take advantage already of the millions of visitors that website is receiving every year. So for us, and I'm talking on behalf of our tourism board and Visit Tucson, where I work for, gastronomy has been a game changer in our community. After Tucson received 4 years ago our designation as a creative city of gastronomy, we've seen a huge change in the number of visitors coming, the experiences they're looking for, and gastronomy has been a destination driver. I can tell you, before we had our City of Gastronomy designation, every year we will have journalists, television stars come to Tucson, and we'll generate about $10 to $11 million worth of content through, again, our social media engagements or PR engagements. Now we're up to $36 million every year. And that's the attention that Tucson has been receiving in the area of gastronomy. So for us, it's important, again, to help those small producers to connect with consumers out there. Now, let me tell you about what I can see or what we think that was going to be happening in the future. And it has to do with a new way of thinking and something that's similar to what is called the consumer-supported agriculture. That is a phenomenon that is happening in the US. I think it happens in Europe, where I pay in advance a farmer for the production. So I buy not stocks, I just buy a participation in their production. So when I look at other creative cities and I look for opportunities, you're seeing here on the screen on your left side, a wheel of Parmesan cheese in Parma, Italy. And you can see that we're signing this cheese on the cloth, of course, with a marker that it's safe for the cheese. I think Florence signed there. Danny, I can see he's the city of Dania, Tucson, Arizona. So we visited a cheese producer, a small producer in Italy, and I've gone to their website, and they have an online presence, and they have a retail component, and I think that is good. But if this producer have taken the opportunity when I was in Italy to tell me, Felipe, you're going to sign this wheel of cheese, and it's going to go into the water with salt, and then it's going to go into one of the shelves, and it's going to be maturing for at least 12 months. If they have told me that I can buy 1 kilogram of that Parmesan cheese for 40 euros, I will pay it, because it's my cheese. I had nothing to do with it, by the way. I had nothing to do with the production. I was just watching. But just the fact that I feel that emotional connection with the cheese because I signed it, it's all of a sudden something mine. And then I can brag in social media. And social media, unfortunately, and that's part of it, it's about bragging rights. It's showcasing the people where I am, what am I eating. So if I can have the opportunity to tell people, hey, I have a special cheese that is right now in a shelf in Parma, Italy, and I'm going to receive a piece of it, of my cheese, I'll be willing to pay double the price because of that emotional connection. So how do I attach, again, that emotion to the product? For that cheese manufacturer, also is going to be great that rather than waiting 12, 24, or 48 months to receive payment for that wheel of cheese, that can be pre-sold already. People can purchase that special cheese before going. Now, at this time, of course, it's hard to travel. We cannot go to Europe because of COVID restrictions. But there's another interesting program, the wine on the right. It's produced by a company in the California area called Wine Foundry, where I, Felipe Garcia, can get in contact online with Wine Foundry, and I can tell them, hey, I want to do my wine. And a group of enologists will help me identify the kind of wine that I want, Cabernet Sauvignon, let's say. They'll find the producer, they have under contract for the grapes, they'll crush the grapes. I can look online when they're crushing the grapes. They'll help me develop my own label. They help me select all the elements, and all of a sudden, I'm a wine producer. I have a wine. And again, I already pre-bought that. So the grape producer in California, the facilities, everyone got their money in advance. They're not waiting till the end to sell that wine in a retail store, forget their money. So how can we connect emotionally, and how can we connect with all these small producers? And that's what e-commerce is helping us. That's the opportunities that we can do it remotely these days. Of course, we want people to go and visit. And as Florian was mentioning on Ruth and Cristiano, we want those tourists to go to our communities. If we entice them these ways to do it, that's a big success. But everything's about storytelling. And again, Giuseppe Biagini from Mitki is going to be talking about that experience. And I want to give a big kudos to Visit Bergamo. I went to their website to look what they're doing in the area of food and gastronomy. And I think they're doing a great job in connecting cheese with the producers, with the consumers. But going again into that emotional connection is going to be helping us. To close my remarks, one challenge that I think that we see many times is that we have to think globally while acting locally. And that's a challenge that I think we face worldwide. As part of my responsibilities here in Tucson, I have many hats. I participate in many boards and organizations. One of them is called the District Export Council, that we're a group of business people that are appointed by the U.S. Secretary of Commerce in Washington to help U.S. companies export and go to global markets. And many times I talk to companies and I tell them our community in Tucson, it's 1 hour driving from Mexico, from the border. And Mexico's a great partner of ours and a great market for exports. And I have small companies that have been selling to Mexico for 5-6 years. And I go with them an opportunity to export to Italy. And then they get scared because they say, no, that's exporting. So, well, the moment you cross the border, it doesn't matter where it goes, you're exporting already. Bring your product, and again, act locally, look at your local production, look at your local products, but think globally. Think what you can do to connect with markets around the world. So with that, again, I will encourage all of us to keep this dialogue and find ways on how we can collaborate and we can support each other's gastronomy products. All the time I'm talking about the Parmigiano Reggiano, and I'm making posts and telling people, don't buy Parmigiano Reggiano in a plastic container that it's powder and green. Look for one that has a seal, because I learned that that's the Parmigiano Reggiano, the traditional unique. I want to talk about the gambas from Denia. We need to, again, support each other and help those small producers through e-commerce access new markets. So Claudio, again, thank you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to have more dialogue with all our sister cities of gastronomy.
Thank you, Felipe. Great ideas and great energy in your speech. Many things to share and a great project to develop all over the world. Bergamo is with you, so we can talk about it very, very soon. And now we are staying in Tucson once again, but we are creative because in Tucson we found Giuseppe Biagini, focal point of Bergamo, also founder of International Traditional Knowledge Institute Foundation. We all call it CUSE. And he will talk us about leveraging the collective intelligence of a territory, the case of artisanal cheese makers. Thank you for being with us, Giuseppe. Hope to see you soon back in Bergamo.
I hope so too. Yes, I'm tired of staying here in Tucson and not being able to travel around as before. Anyway, thank you all for the invitation, and I hope that I can be the conclusive piece here of this meeting in terms of ideas for leveraging together ideas so that we can collaborate and participate into international projects. The foundations, probably everybody of you know about the project that we do. In particular, I want to tell you about the Breads of the Creative Cities, which is the oldest intra-cluster project that with the city of Tucson we developed many years ago. But now let's go immediately to the new challenge that we have posed to ourselves, which is to use this concept of collective intelligence, which is essentially a collection of all the practices and know-hows that a community has been building over the centuries, and that represents what is unique about the place. And often that community intelligence is divided into many little pieces, which only all the traditional keepers of the land know, and they might know only parts of it. So a project that the Institute wants to make around the world are dedicated to putting together all these pieces into a puzzle that will create a uniform picture of the uniqueness of the place, uniqueness of the people, and what the people do in that place, and describe also the landscape, the terroir, where those things happen and could not have happened in other places around the world. So that also feeds into what everybody else has been saying before. A product is not the same if you don't taste it with the knowledge of the people who produced it in the places where it was produced. So let me just quickly go over here. Bergamo, as you probably know, was nominated because of the collective intelligence built over the century around this practice of making artisanal cheeses that have become also recognized by the 9 DOPs and several other production and certifications connected to the land. What we want to make sure that we do with our project Artisanal Cheese, which is the response of to saving the collective intelligence of that land, is to make sure that we address the needs of all the people into that community, from the very tiny artisans that are starting, from the new generations that want to get close to the uniqueness of the space. And so the platform that the Institute offers is connected to a no-cost marketing strategy that everyone can use and can be a collector to all the other initiatives that the community has been building, whether they be private organizations or public organizations. We offer a container that essentially is the representation of the strategies of the land. And as Felipe was saying, we try to organize cross-promotion between the people and the private organization of the community so that everyone with a minimum, let's say, effort and expense can be promoted at the maximum. Our approach starts from the bottom. It doesn't start only from the already established organization, but we want to make sure that we include all, and in particular the artisans, because the artisans are the more fragile organizations in a community. They do not have the money, they do not have the time to promote themselves and to transfer their traditions. And how do we do that? Simply by telling the story. Interview the knowledge keeper, or if they don't have the time, make sure that we have interpreters of the knowledge keeper that talk for them, that interview them, that describe their story. And also we want to capture what is it that is special of the traditional knowledge activity that needs to be told, needs to be described to even to the locals sometimes, and not just to the visitors, so that they appreciate what is the treasure that they have in their own land. Of course, creating experiential itineraries is the definitive result of all this process, because if you don't have a way of getting to the knowledge keeper, you don't have a way of appreciating that. So the project essentially that we produce typically, and in particular also for the artisanal cheese that we are talking about now, is putting together the knowledge keepers, bringing volunteers, students, experts, which we call knowledge seekers, to interact with the expert of the land, but not just the end point of the value chain of the product, but the starting point. So in the case of cheese, is from herders, breeders, cheese makers, chefs, and all the way to the consumer that at the end will have a full and holistic experience of the value chain. So here is a little example of how the sustainability analysis that we are trying to build also in response to SDG 12 will look like in the case of the cheese value chain. We want to make sure that we understand which animal was used to produce the cheese. What are the traditional techniques that the breeder uses to do that, and how the cheese maker takes a lot of effort in going up and down the mountains, making sure that what is the final product is of great excellence and represents the tradition and uniqueness of the space. Then the project was also to analyze some side effects like the packaging, the distribution systems, and then wants to get to the local markets, to the restaurants, to the food retails, and bring directly to the consumer all and every one of the different steps of producing the food. We do that essentially by creating a digital library where everyone that wants to participate to the project, whether it be the knowledge keepers or organizations in the community, public or private, that already do things. We do want to collaborate with the tourism office. We do want to collaborate with consortia, restaurants and everything that help us in collecting, in transforming the information that is already being collected for the community, and make sure that we build the story. We connect all the dots from the makers and the food artisans all the way to the consumer. Here is some example of the project that we are building for Bergamo, where you see the aggregate portal where the members of the community of the artisan cheesemakers are active. They can connect directly to their website through a QR code that essentially can activate videos while they are promoting their products either on food markets or in restaurants or directly selling to some customers. The project also includes publications as a memento of what has been part of the history of the place. But we only do, we don't just do printed books. Actually, we don't do much of that. It's too expensive. But we do interactive ebooks, which through the QR code can link directly the content to multimedia content information, like videos, like interviews, like particular events that the cheesemaker has been doing. And again, these interactive booklets are a perfect way when you are in a restaurant reading a menu. You can go back all the way to the cheesemaker, to the breeder, to the animal, almost down to the animal or to the place where the animal has been grazing to make sure that what you're eating is representative of the culture. When you are in a farmer's market, you can, through your QR code, represent your story, your connectivity to the land and to your value chain. Your product is not just yourself, is the sum of all the contribution of the people that helped you. And of course, some business card just to present you as the producer of that particular product. And then the project includes also events that can be real, like these ones that we did connected to another project, the project connected to breads, when we went around the world to recognize the participant with awards, with recognitions of their unique activity and make sure that they felt proud of what they're doing because they are essentially the ambassadors of their land. And today, that when it's a little bit more complicated to go around, we envision a virtual expression of these events through Facebook, through social media. And it was quite an interesting results that we obtained. Again, this is results from the Brands event, from the Brands project, but we are planning to do the same for the cheese. And each cheese producer, knowledge keeper, becomes the ambassador of the land, becomes the interactor between his space, his cheese making shop into the rest of the world, and it presents whatever they are doing. Itineraries, as we said, and also metrics. We want to give information back to who participates. So we want to give them information, who is seeing them, who is visiting them, who is coming to the territory, not visiting them maybe, but they are in the territory. So they are interested in what's happening around them, and try to create some demographics, some information about what the system is doing. Where are we at this on this project now? We are at the level of having produced the first interactive book with one culture itinerary that touches the nine of the representatives of the DOP cheeses. And of course, this can be taken advantage of either by the book, but also by websites and interactive apps. The phase 2 essentially starts today, when we want to invite all of you to participate and talk about your artisanal cheese in your area, and create an interview process, tell you what we would like to know from you about your traditional cheese making in your community, and make sure that next year when we get together again into Santos, hopefully we will be able to talk about the results of the event, the outcomes of the community that reaches us and talk to us about what we're doing. This is the website where you can see the draft of the project, where you can start to enroll and participate. For any other information, here is our direct emails. And again, thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you all participating into our project.
Thank you, Giuseppe. I know this project very well. It's a great project because I didn't write it, so I know it's great because I didn't do it. And we are almost at the end of our afternoon together, and now we have the pleasure to meet, and I have the pleasure to introduce Francesco Maroni, President of Project Forme, maybe the most important engine of the application of Bergamo as a city of gastronomy. More than an engine, I think a rocket, because it's full of energy every day, every time. I don't know how. Probably it's because of cheese that he produces and he eats. So, Francesco, are you with us? He will present the project Forme Creative. This is starting today with this summit. Hi, Francesco.
Thank you all for being with us.
The designation of Bergamo as Creative City of Gastronomy, thanks to the aerobic cheese valleys, is the outcome of a long work of value enhancement that in time has sharpened the awareness of the unique features of this territory and its products. Key in this endeavor were the reorganization of the ancient fair of San Matteo di Branzi, the numerous initiatives launched by the San Matteo Le Tre Signorie Association and the Association of the Alpine Brown Breed and the Aerobic Goats Cheese Producers, that together with the Association Principe dell'Aerobia gave life to the Unesco project. Results that were achieved through a collaborative network of businesses, associations and institutions that today is the best ground to safeguard and develop the outstanding heritage of the aerobic cheese valleys. The project Forme over the past years has supported the Cheese Valleys project in all its forms. The Forme project was established in 2015 with the support of the Bergamo Chamber of Commerce that found in the Bergamo municipality and across its territory the fertile ground to plan a long-term development project in the field of cheese, granting our territory the chance to become a systematic project for the Italian dairy industry. I'll be introducing the Forme project, showing a video clip. We were established back in 2015 when Milan Expo 2015 was organized, and the long-term development has been shared with all the various associations, local associations.
Now, the winner of the World Cheese Awards 2019 is Row Creamer USA. Organic blue cheese, there you go. Wow.
Amami quanto t'amo.
Speaking about Forme Edition 2020, was a strongly advocated edition despite the great difficulties caused by the current situation that forced us to steer towards a fully digital version. The guiding idea developed from the outstanding opportunity to create a virtuous circle between Forme and the Bergamo designation as city of gastronomy of UNESCO, thanks to the cheese valleys. The designation itself is self-explanatory for creativity, as is the title of this summit, Food Restart from Creativity, curated by the municipality of Bergamo that projects it into the future by inaugurating this event. During the next few days, there will be other digital events, amongst which the virtual exhibition Creative Cheese Expo, devoted to dairy specialties of the creative cities of gastronomy, virtual cheese labs with the honor of master tasters, and forums, cheese forums, opportunities to disseminate the knowledge of unique products and terroirs, and also the starting point for wide-ranging proposals. Milk roads to value cheese as driver for food tourism. The second event will be devoted to cattle drive and up food way, dealing with the territories where our cheese is produced, with a focus on the UNESCO World Heritage Sites and on the Venetian walls. Another cheese forum will be devoted to men's health and planet Earth's health, starting from food, where Professor Giuseppe Remuzzi, director of the Mario Negri Institute, will deal with relations existing between people, the environment and food. These themes impact the future of our territories, where the dairy supply chain can play a key role. A further initiative which is very dear to us is Cheese Feeds Research, in collaboration with the ARMR Association supporting the Mario Negri Institute of Research. Last but not least, I'd like to close my presentation being provocative, addressing the creative city of gastronomy based in Italy. Forme launched a provocation last year. We launched this provocation to architect Mr. Paolo Albano, designer and former author of Italia Mini, the Ferrari of fresh pasta machines, and we asked him to imagine what could be the food design joining Italy and Italian cities of creativity. Thus, the Six Valley Pacaro was born. This is a hybrid pasta shape drawn in bronze draw plates, with 4 plates. 2 are smooth and 2 are with growths, technically named valleys. This is a tribute paid to the Bergamo creative city and to the 6 valleys of Val Membrana, Val Magna, Val di Scalva, Val Seriana, Val Sassina and Val Gerola. I now ask Mr. Albano, who designed this prototype, to take the floor. Here I am. Thank you very much. More than a provocation, this was a challenge. Hopefully we managed to meet this challenge. The well-known pasta shapes are an icon of Italian creativity. We should always think that even behind the smallest product, there is a pencil searching for a balance to be struck between function and beauty. Creativity is the result of great passion in Italy because creativity comes from a process and not from the spur of the moment. And this was true for the Pacchero Sei Valli, the Six Valley Pacchero. This is a shape of pasta, of course, that must be enhanced by a great chef of Italian cuisine. Thank you very much. The Six Valley Pacchero stems from the willingness to combine some of the most important agri-food supply chains of the Made in Italy in the name of creativity, pasta and cheese, but also design and technology. To complete this project, we shared this initiative with an ambassador of Pacchero. I'm referring to the Cerea brothers from the Da Vittorio restaurant, a 3-star Michelin. The floor is theirs. Can you all hear me? Yes, we can.
Sei quasi perfetto, un po', ecco così, no, un po' più alla tua destra, così, eccoci, sei giusto. Perfetto, adesso sei centrato.
Posso salutare?
Can I greet everybody?
Eccoci, ciao Chico.
Yes, hello.
Eccoci.
Chico. I would like to thank you all live on behalf of my family and my group to grant us with this task, honored task. And I also would like to thank our architect, Mr. Albano. How could he design such a new shape? This is technically very interesting because also from the gastronomic perspective, this is something we worked on with great pleasure because we managed to achieve grooves and where the 6 valleys are represented so well matches the shape of the pasta. But also my greatest congratulations go to our mayor, Mr. Gori, who is always back behind these initiatives, behind all the initiatives that merchants and producers launch. Bergamo has a great working team, and we show this also through the cheeses that we produce. The fact of joining forces with Parma and Alba allows us, Bergamo, to reach the peak of the agri-food industry. This will benefit all of us, and hopefully we can revive our tourism after these difficult circumstances. Thank you very much to you all, and greetings from Bergamo to all the other cities connected. Thank you, Kiko. When goodness becomes development, the Pacchero Six Valley project aims at not just being a symbol, but also the driver and support for the development of the creative city. This project is bestowed by Forme upon Bergamo City with the aim to enhance its value through the awesome opportunities granted by the UCC network, in particular for the creation of the Italian food and wine cluster being developed by the cities of Bergamo, Parma and Alba. So we are bestowing this to Bergamo, but one version also goes to the other 2 cities, Parma and Alba, who are part of the UCC of Gastronomy of Italy. For this union,
ma che possa essere di stimolo per poter far sedere intorno al tavolo della
to
gastronomia
become the
anche altri
driver
settori
for
importanti con i quali
further
pensare allo
developments
sviluppo dei
in
prossimi anni insieme.
collaboration with other
Ringrazio tutti i
industries.
sostenitori del
Thank you
progetto
for
Forme
all those who have
e tutti i partner
supported
del
our
territorio,
project
tutte le
Forme.
istituzioni
I'd
e
like to
le
thank
associazioni di categoria
all
che
the
ci seguono, la
partners
Camera
and
di
the
Commercio di
trade
Bergamo, il Comune
associations
di Bergamo
supporting us,
e
the
tutti i
Chamber of
partner che da
Commerce
sempre ci
of
danno una
Bergamo, the
mano nello sviluppo
municipality
della
of Bergamo, and all
manifestazione.
the other partners have been supporting us in the
Vi
organization
invitiamo a
of
seguire
this
le
event,
nostre
and
iniziative
you
nei
are all
prossimi giorni che
invited to
avranno
follow us over the next few days. There
veramente
will
molto
be
particolare.
plenty of
Grazie mille
initiatives.
a
Thank you
tutti.
again
Io ho
to you
finito il mio
all
intervento.
for listening, and that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Francesco. Thank you so much. And thank you for being so courageous to organize a different kind of Forme in November this year. You've seen beautiful images about past edition of Forme. It will be great in 2021, hosting all of you in our wonderful city and tasting cheese from all over the world and sharing good practices and good dinners together as well. I'm also a little bit sad because we are going to the end of our summit today, and it's been so interesting. We are really proud to have been with you this afternoon and to learn so many things about your projects, your cities, and sharing with the people on YouTube channel and Facebook channels. And I can tell you that someone wrote on my mobile that comments on YouTube are very, very surprised and interested about what we have shared with us, with the city of Bergamo. For the closing remarks, I invite Roberto Amadeo, the Deputy of Bergamo UCC of Gastronomy and also responsible for food policy of our city. And he will talk us about cheese and food as cultural heritage. Roberto, are with us? Are you? Okay, are you ready? Ciao Roberto, tutto bene?
Ciao, tutto bene?
Okay.
Good afternoon to everybody. I have the honor to conclude this summit of the Food Restart from Creativity. We are so honored to host so many interesting experiences talking about ecosystem, local food, identity, culture, and sustainable development, an innovative lever. Now I just want to demonstrate how and why cheese and food are culture heritage. Man and food have always been inextricably linked. The history of civilization is also and above all the history of food. Every conquest, every human progress is marked by the growth of food, its abundance or scarcity. But the primary need for physical subsistence is only one of the reasons why the relationship between man and food is of fundamental importance for the whole planet Earth. The other important variable which fits into this context in the strong cultural connotation that the relationship between man and food as with the territory from which it comes. It can be considered a cultural element from the historical moment in which the transition from natural resource to food modified by the culture of a group takes place that follows a food code of conduct that favors certain foods and makes other undesirable. An ancient popular saying says, "We are what we eat." And with this work, we will also try to demonstrate that we eat what we are. Actually, Feuerbach, the philosophy from Germany, says this saying that to be and to eat in Deutsch are the same word. So The other important variable which fits into this context is the strong cultural connotation that the relationship between man and food has been the territory from which it comes. It can be considered a cultural element from the historical moment in which the transition from natural resource to food modified by the culture of a group takes place that follows a food code of conduct in favor center food and makes other undesirable. Seasonal change, religious festival with their gastronomic practices, rites of passage such as weddings, lunches, even funeral rites are recurrence of our social and family life and have always been marked with table appointment. Food is a way to appreciate life and celebrate it. A free relationship with the place that generate local products, an interpretation of reality knowing how to read the connection, often hidden. Small-scale local agricultural economies are also places of dissemination and conservation of knowledge, of identity formation, of community affirmation. This is the interviewing of food and culture that creates the ever stronger need to know the production, processing, and distribution of food. It is also the sign of how it is clear to everyone that health, economy, landscape, and sociality are connected to a food sovereignty. Food can be considered a cultural element. Food is a culture because it invented and transformed the world. It is culture when it's produced, when it's prepared, when it's consumed. It is fruit of our identity and a tool to express and communicate it. Man builds his food by superimposing the activity of production on the predation, preparing and transforming with the use of the culinary technique, consuming by choosing one food instead of another. The decisive step was the invention of agriculture about 10,000 years ago, a way to domesticate nature by selecting the most productive and nutritious plants, in particular cereals, was various types spread all over the world. Within the Mediterranean, the corn in America, rice in Asia. Around this plant of civilization, as the French historian Fernando Braudel called them, the development of man was born, who for the first time freed himself from the dependence of nature and became the master of the space to inhabit. We are therefore talking about an extraordinary innovation that soon turned into tradition in the sense of the transmission of gestures, knowledge, and belonging to a group. Food is therefore culture, is a right and freedom, is a landscape, and in this regard, I would like to remind to the Ministry of Agriculture, Italian Ministry of Agriculture, has established the National Rural Landscape Observatory, a body that deals with identify and enhancing the areas of the territory that have always been linked to the traditional human activities. Now, I just want to thank so much for your attention. We hope to see you all in Bergamo, and we hope also to reach you in your beautiful city, so important for the gastronomic creativity. Altogether, we can be ambassadors for each other, a network of our nice staying in our city. Thank you all.
Thank you, Roberto. Thank you so much for your passion when you talk about food and food policy. We are at the end. It's been a great afternoon. In few days, we will share with everyone, documents, the presentation that we have seen during this afternoon. I want to thank you once again on behalf of the mayor, Giorgio Gori, as well, that has something else to do. We know that it's a difficult period almost everywhere in the world, and so he really wanted to be with us until the end, but he had to leave us. So hope to see you soon in Italy, in Spain, in Sweden, in Norway, in the United States, in Brazil, everywhere in the world. In Alba, that is in Italy, it's not so far, and really has been a great pleasure. So thank you once again, and hope to work together as a network, as a great network, as we are. Thank you. Thank you, Ruth, Giuseppe, Floren. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Eneko. And thank you, Emanuele. Enjoy your evening. Bye.
Bye-bye. Heyo.
Thank you, everybody. Have a nice evening. Thanks.
Goodbye. Have a
Bye,
nice
bye, Ruth.